Hey, what is up guys? MKBHD here, and the Samsung Galaxy S4 will easily be one of the most popular phones of 2013, no doubt. And when Samsung builds up that much hype for any phone, like they do with the S4, especially when the predecessor, the S3, is so popular, we kind of expect the S4 to be a really good phone. And a lot of people see the Galaxy S4 as an evolutionary update to the Galaxy S3, and understandably so, because of the naming. But after my time with it, I'm seeing it a bit differently. I'm seeing the Galaxy S4 as more of a downsized, reconstructed Note 2. Hear me out. So the Galaxy S4 is more square than the Galaxy S3, first of all. And although it has very similar dimensions, Samsung will tell you that it's slightly thinner and slightly lighter, so that's true, but you won't really notice these differences. If you're familiar with the Galaxy S3, you'll also feel right at home with the button layout and the port layout because they're the same on the Galaxy S4. And they're also the same as they are on the Galaxy Note 2. But overall, the phone just looks and feels just different. Different in the way the Galaxy Note 2 feels different from the S3. Mostly because of this design, again, it's more square. And then you check out the insides. You already know that you can take off the back, the thin, flexible plastic back of the Galaxy S4 to reveal the internals, and that'll reveal a removable 2600 mAh battery and a micro SD card slot and the speaker, micro SIM card, etc. Now, compare this to the Galaxy S3 on the left and the Galaxy Note 2 on the right, and there is even more reason to consider the S4 a restructured Note 2. The speaker is now down in the bottom at the same place, the battery is also now lower in the chassis, and the micro SD card and micro SIM card slots are now above the battery instead of below. All of these like the Note 2, not the S3. Also on the Galaxy S3, the edges were so tapered that you had no real edge of the phone to grip. And that was a bit of a problem for me, but with the new S4 design, you actually have that metallic band around the phone that creates an edge to grip before the tapering starts. It's a small touch, and it's something a lot of reviewers look past as a cheap attempt to look more premium, but it actually really changes the feel of the Galaxy S4 in the hand when you hold it. So on the hardware side of things, consider this guy a compacted Galaxy Note 2. That's just the way it feels in the hand and the way it's built. On the software side of things, though, this is familiar Samsung territory. So here on the Galaxy S4, we have an updated TouchWiz on top of Android 4.2 Jelly Bean this time. So first of all, since it's Android 4.2 now, you get a bunch of new Google features, like, for example, the quick settings in the notification bar that Samsung so generously colorized and added to. They're accessible with a two-finger swipe down from the top of the notification bar, and you can basically customize them to let you one-tap toggle any feature on the phone, which is actually kind of nice. It's convenient. And you also get Android 4.2's lock screen widgets, and the first one I installed is Dash Clock, of course, because it's beautiful. But yeah, plenty of apps are supported. You can swipe to the right to open the camera, or swipe to add more lock screen widgets. They're a welcome addition that the Galaxy S3 and Note 2 don't have yet. And then there's the rest of TouchWiz. So Samsung stuffed this phone to the gills with software features inside of TouchWiz. A lot of them will make for great commercials and gimmicky tricks and neat demos, so this phone is very demoable, which is very good for Samsung. But in the end, a lot of these features probably won't be used by the average user. So for example, Air View is new. It lets you hover your finger over an album in the gallery to get a preview of the photos inside. It's useful, it works, but it's an extra gesture you have to learn, and people are used to just tapping in and opening the gallery anyway, so I don't know if people will use that. There's also things like Smart Scroll and Smart Stay and Smart Pause and all this smart stuff that's supposed to basically read your eyes using a front-facing camera and take action or adjust itself accordingly. They all work most of the time, but if you have them on by accident or you don't want them to be on, you may find your phone scrolling up and down or pausing videos or changing orientation by itself when you didn't want or need it to do that. So I ended up turning these features off after a while. They got annoying and I just didn't need them. And I did an explanation video of all of these things, so I'll leave a link right below the like button on this video if you want an explanation of all the Galaxy S4 software features. But basically overall, TouchWiz has a lot of new added features that are, like I said, great for demos. It's great for showing off to your friends or something like that. But eventually I turned them off because they just weren't doing it for me. I don't really need them. Overall, though, TouchWiz is still very colorful, as we've seen on other devices, and very, very contrasty, just like on the Galaxy S3 and the Note 2. And TouchWiz is very contrasty because it's also on that AMOLED display. And speaking of that display, this is no ordinary AMOLED display. The Galaxy S4 is rocking a 1920 by 1080 Super AMOLED Plus display. So that gives it a pixel density of 441 pixels per inch, and it does have a pentile subpixel matrix, but nobody can tell. This display has far more pixels in that 5-inch space than any naked eye can decipher, and that means razor sharp text, images, video, everything. I love it. It's what we've been waiting for. It's what we knew was coming in the upgrade to the S4, and it is the #1 reason to upgrade to this phone from something like the Galaxy S3. Now, because it's an AMOLED display, it also has a few advantages over other 1080p phones. For example, deeper blacks, higher contrast, and lower power consumption. But all of that comes with the trade-off that this display is no brighter than the Galaxy S3, so it kind of struggles in daylight when compared to something like the HTC One. But that's, of course, another video. Now, it's pushing these pixels with the Snapdragon 600 processor in the United States, which, if you don't know, is an absolute tank of a processor. Just a performance monster, benchmark killer, and all-around great chip. So it's going to score really high on pretty much any benchmark that you put it through, and it's also going to get you great power consumption as well. So I was able to get all-day battery life, again, about the same battery life as the Galaxy S3 with the stock battery. I was using the Galaxy S3 on Verizon, which was an LTE network, and I was using the Galaxy S4 on AT&T, which is an LTE network, and I was getting about the same battery life. So despite the more powerful processor and the bigger, sharper display, you're going to get about the same battery, which is pretty good for me all day. Now, you can't talk about that Galaxy S4 without a little bit about that camera, and I gotta say, it is an awesome one. I'd say the best camera on any smartphone I've ever used to date, and that's including the latest iPhone 5, the Galaxy Note 2, the Galaxy S3, the HTC One, the Lumia 920. This tops them all for me. This is just an awesome all-around, solid performing 13 megapixel camera for pretty much all types of situations. The camera app, of course, is updated to the new version of TouchWiz, so it looks a lot like the interface on the Samsung Galaxy camera now. And again, it's filled with all these tons of gimmicky TouchWiz features that most people will never even know they have in their pocket, but a few of them were actually kind of cool, so people like to get creative with their cameras, you know? So, for example, I fell in love with the animated photo feature that lets you take a few seconds of video clip and then basically animate just a part of it to form a GIF. And there are so many unique ways to use this, it's not even funny. I was walking around New York City all the time just taking these, and the only real problem is sharing them, because pretty much only Google Plus supports GIFs that big, but it was very cool to use that feature. And I also take HDRs a lot, so it was good to see HDR make another appearance in this new version. No photospheres, unfortunately. Kind of sucks since we're on Android 4.2 and everything, but I guess they can get away with omitting that. I'll include a full resolution panorama I took in New York in the description below so you can see the real quality, because YouTube won't really let me show you just how good looking the photos this thing takes are, but trust me when I say they are beautifully sharp and detailed with all those pixels, and definitely good with the color department too. It's a solid performer in low light as well. It's no Lumia 920, it's no HTC One in low light, but it definitely produces acceptable photos in pretty much any lighting situation, which lets me give it the crown of best all-around camera in a smartphone. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of things to like about this phone, from the 1080p display, to the battery life, to the Note 2-like squarish design, to the things like, you know, the little TouchWiz improvements on top of Android 4.2. Yet, then again, there are plenty of things not to like. For example, the Settings app, which took a huge step down and currently sucks with this lame tabbed interface that you can't even swipe through to get. But it's really all about your values when it comes to judging things like that. And so the huge question at the end of the day is it worth your upgrade? Is it worth your money to upgrade from the Galaxy S3 or from other phones? And right now the verdict is, if you have to have 1080p AMOLED, then yes, this is the way to go. This is the only way to go. If not, then you might be better off waiting. The software features you see here are basically around the corner in a firmware update from the Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy Note 2 and other Samsung phones. But what about other phones like the HTC One or other 1080p devices? Well, there are some benefits to the Galaxy S4. For example, it's made of plastic, which is a pro, because that gives you generally better signal strength. You get a lighter phone, a little bit thinner, and you also get very fast GPS lock with a plastic back. But then again, there are cons like it being a fingerprint magnet and feeling cheap in the hand. So overall, that decision comes down to what you prefer in a phone. Overall, though, I think this is a great phone. I'm definitely enjoying every second I spend with it, and maybe you will too. This is definitely worth checking out. I think I would go with the black version over the white version though, just for the clean look and less fingerprints. Either way, thank you for watching. Definitely subscribe and stay tuned for upcoming videos that relate to this one very soon. And you're definitely going to want to see those. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.